Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan, beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. My guy, Ryan Horvat, on Twitter at Ryan Horvat, part of BetMGM tonight, weeknights, part of the BetQL Radio Network, throwing me under the bus earlier today on Twitter, referring to me as a suit. Let the record show, I think I've worn a suit to this radio station multiple times, but in every instance, it's been my Christmas suit that I wear on the last day of the toy drive every year. So to be fair, that's the only time you've ever caught me in a suit, Ryan Horvat, blaming me for him producing for 2 years and not being able to host. That's ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about the Packers. Packers-Patriots joint practice. We delayed starting this podcast to get in as much of this practice as we can. Neither one of us obviously there, but thank God for the likes of Andy Herman from the Pack a Day podcast, Ryan Wood from the Green Bay Press Gazette, and those guys all doing a great job of giving us kind of play-by-play. And let's talk about the guys that did not practice today in day one of the joint practices. Enos Gaines, Eric Stokes, Caleb Jones, David Bakhtiari, Tenuta, Tyler Davis, think he's done for the year. Tyler Goodson and Nichols still out as well. And no Kenny Clark and no Bo Melton. Bo Melton, the wide receiver, has a hamstring injury. We learned that later in camp. And Devondre Campbell also not practicing because of an ankle injury. Tarvarius Moore, I should say, started at safety next to Savage. Van Ness, the start at edge. Jair was in with team. McDuffie in for Campbell. So that's kind of what the whole thing looked like going into this. Quick notes without doing play-by-plays of what these guys have. The Packers not running the ball well at all. They really struggled to run the ball today. There was a 5-yard run here, 4-yard run there type deal, but there was nobody breaking open early on. If you go back on these guys' Twitter's accounts, you just see Dillon run for nothing, Jones run for nothing, and it was not exactly a great start. Jones had a nice move on one guy a little bit later in practice. Dillon, I think, had 5 yards up the middle and the interior a little bit in practice. But the Patriots' run defense, very, very good. Now, this is my thing, and I'm going to ask Ryan Horvat. So how much do you read into how you do against another team's defense based on what that defense was last year or what it's expected to be this year? It's like when you're getting stopped by the Patriots run defense, is it, damn, our offensive line better play better? Or is it, yeah, I mean, it's Belichick's defense. Like this is probably going to happen from time to time. It's not going to be the only team that they wrap up and stop as far as the run game goes. How do you view this in this joint camp practice today with the Packers struggling to run the ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little concerning. I don't really worry about Aaron Jones. Also, like you said, I mean, David Bakhtiari not practicing today, so you don't have your full offensive line out there. The Patriots were a solid defense last year. Obviously not the defense that they've been, for the last decade or the Super Bowl runs. But what's kind of funny is they actually struggled a little bit against the run last season, so I'd say that's a little concerning. But overall, a pretty good defense. A.J. Dillon, I need to see more from A.J. Dillon this season. And I actually really like that one carry that he had in that first preseason game like we talked about. Saw some bursts there, but he has to have a big year, right? Or I don't know where he's going to be next year. And this year he should finally, last year he got the touches, right? Like he's a solid back. And I think he's a better pass catcher than we expected coming out of Boston College because they just didn't throw the ball to backs there. But I just expected him to be more of like a Derrick Henry type back. Granted, he's not 6'4", but with those big ass legs, man, I expected him to be more like a Jerome Bettis. And it seems like he just gets brought down by one defender, right? So, I just want to see him be more of a load. I never want to see A.J. Dillon get taken down by one or two defenders. I want to see him dragging guys, 3 or 4 guys jumping on his back. So that is a little bit concerning. But again, you could say, hey, it's a joint practice. Let's see what they do in the game if they get run in the exhibition game.
And you have another joint practice tomorrow. So you're going to get 2 days of this.
And tomorrow. And no David Bakhtiari today. So a little concerning, but not too concerned.
Maybe Bakhtiari plays tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. On some special teams work done earlier on in the practice as well. Andy Herman saying Carrington Valentine doing work on special teams too, covering punts and jamming for punt returns. Tavian Wicks with an awesome block on punt returns. And as Andy Herman points out, Jaden Reed, the primary punt returner today, looks so smooth catching the ball on punt returns. Packers basically did an Amari Rodgers redo, and I think they crushed it this time. And would that be a fair assessment, Ryan Horvat? Is this trying to still recorrect what they did with Amari Rodgers? Different player, different year, but trying to fill still the same role that they wanted to fill with Amari Rodgers?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, right? I mean, I'm really excited for Jaden Reed, what he could do on special teams. Also as the gadget guy. I want to see him
Jet
on
sweeps.
some end arounds. Yeah, some jet sweeps. I want to see a lot of pre-snap motion. That really went away last year. We saw that really the first year where Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great season. Then he started using it less and less, the 2 MVP runs. And then last year, we didn't really see it at all. So I want to see more of that. I also want to see Christian Watson still be a gadget guy, even though he's probably going to be your best wide receiver, or maybe your second best if Romeo Doubs has the season we all expect. But yeah, that's what it looks like. But I also like that they're trying to find ways to get Carrington Valentine on the field. And I believe that's something that Andy Herman tweeted out that Matt LaFleur said before practice. They got to find ways to get him on the field. I'm so excited about what he could do on the defensive side of the ball as a defensive back. Let's say Eric Stokes isn't what he was as a rookie. I know there was an injury last year, but even before the injury, he didn't look like he did as a rookie.
Correct.
So I'm really excited for Valentine, and I want to see him get on the field. And also, I like depth because, let's say Jaden Reed or whoever that guy is a little bit of a nightmare. Don't continue to send him out there every week. Make that switch really quickly because that was the issue last year. You kept trotting Amari Rodgers out there, and it cost you ball games. A couple of years ago, Ty Montgomery made 2 big mistakes 2 weeks in a row. You got to correct that right away. So I'm excited to see what all these guys really can do there.
Yeah, I am too. I forgot. Dylan also had a fumble earlier in practice as well. Also special teams, our guy, Anders Carlson. Now, again, I'm telling you, Horvat, this is going to be a thing with me all year. Just be ready. And I'm going to be screaming and yelling from the rooftop. So this is the deal. Early in practice, field goal drill, right? Okay, here we go. Kick some field goals. Carlson, good from 33, good from 40, good from 42, good from 48, good for 50, 5 for 5. I'm looking on my Twitter. Woohoo! Okay. All right. Wide right, Carlson. Maybe we're done with that. Maybe now we can be good, Carl. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw him go 5 for 5 in any practice, based on what I read on Twitter, obviously. So I was like, okay, this is pretty good. Now hold that thought until we get later into practice because it's going to come back up again. So now, as we were going through this is what we're realizing today with Love. He appears to be on today for the most part. I mean, he underthrew one a little bit, and he overthrew one just a little bit between a corner and a safety. But other than that, it felt like, for the most part, he's been on. Watson took 170 yards for a touchdown in the practice as well from Jordan Love. And this one was from Andy Herman. Love all day to throw, finds Watson on a deep crosser complete. Defender falls down trying to break it up. Watson takes to the house, probably 70 yards. Awesome play. Love right on the money. There's a lot of that within this. We don't know if he's going to play yet in the exhibition game as we're recording this because they're still finishing up the practice as we're recording. So maybe we'll know this by the time you listen to the podcast if he's going to play or not on Saturday. But I don't think he will play on Saturday. I think they'll wait for Seattle. So today and tomorrow is going to be the good looks you're going to get of Jordan Love against the starters on the other team. He's not playing against 2s and 3s for the Patriots. He's playing against their 1s. So from that aspect, when he has a good day to join practice, then that counts, right, Horvat? That, okay, look, you did good today against the Patriots, D, and things are still going in the right direction. We haven't had a nightmare joint practice or a nightmare exhibition game to this point because he's not throwing picks. And like today so far, when we started recording this, he hasn't even thrown one in somebody else's hands and they just dropped it. Like Rajul Douglas, I think, dropped 2 interceptions in the practice today against Mac Jones that hit him in the hands and he couldn't hold on to it. And it doesn't appear that anything's even close to being intercepted against the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, with Jordan Love, I mean, that's huge, especially, granted, like you said, joint practice, not even a preseason game, but going against a Belichick defense, regardless, even if it is a joint practice. And that's a pretty good secondary, a pretty good pass defense in New England. And I mean, if he does that again tomorrow, a second day in a row in a joint practice, I don't really need to see him in a preseason game. Maybe I don't even need to see him against Seattle. Like you said, then there's that long layoff. But I mean, I would prefer to. It gives me a reason to watch, and I don't need to see 4 quarters or 3 quarters of Sean Clifford. But I'm starting to get excited about Jordan Love when you read these comments or you see these throws, the couple clips that we do get to see on social media, just because we just watched what Bill Belichick did to another young quarterback. Granted, he's a rookie, in C.J. Stroud. Stroud looked terrible against the Patriots. Every young quarterback looks terrible against New England. Bill Belichick ruins the careers of young quarterbacks, and Jordan Love looking good against that secondary gives me some hope. So much hope that, I've been talked into it. So with the win total being at 7.5 in the last couple of years, being around 10, 11.5, a couple of years ago, their updated win total during the season was 13.5. I ended up betting $850 last night on the Packers to go over 7.5 wins. I showed this to our good buddy Bart Winkler because Jordan Love doesn't need to be Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers. He needs to be better than last season's Aaron Rodgers, and I think he's going to be better than last season's Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback than Rodgers, or he'll be better than Rodgers this season, although, man, Rodgers had a terrible practice yesterday.
We'll get to that.
Hurt. Yeah. So maybe he does. But I'm all in, because the defense, everything that you're reading, all they have to do is stay healthy. I don't know why there was so much regression last year. We all projected them to be top 10. Yep. You saw what they did against San Francisco. Granted, it was a cold weather game at Lambeau in that playoff game, though. They played good enough to win that game. They didn't even score an offensive touchdown. I thought they were going to build off of that. So this team should at least win 8 games in a crappy NFC. And I'm starting to feel good about Jordan Love. Again, I don't know that he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's definitely – he should be better than C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young year one, because he's not a rookie. We keep treating Jordan Love, like a lot of people in the national media, like he's a rookie. There's no excuses, man. He was a first-round pick that they traded up for, so he has to perform this year. Or maybe he won't, but I do think that he does. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be the issue.
Before we get to the 2-minute drill part of this, which everybody cares about, for whatever reason, everybody focuses on the 2-minute drill part of these practices more than the rest of the practice as far as how good Jordan Love is. One thing, Sean Clifford getting some props today, throws a dart to Malik Heath down the right sideline, according to Ryan Wood. And this time he does not miss, dropped it into a bucket from 31 yards over Patriots cornerback Jack Jones for a touchdown, ending the backup 2-minute drill. Clifford has backup quarterback job all but locked up. And earlier in the practice, he got some props from one of the DBs on a throw he made about how strong his arm was. From one of the DBs in New England. I hope he continues to play like this preseason, and I hope he looks better next preseason, because for the first time since the Ron Wolf era, they're going to be in a position to possibly cash in and get a better draft choice for a quarterback they drafted in the round they drafted him. You go back and look, you get a number 1 pick for, was it Brunell or whatever the case was? You used to back in the day with Favre backups, you would trade backup quarterbacks and get something in return for him. Hassel back to Seattle. You were able to get something in return for him. You might now with Clifford, it looks like, providing he still plays well next year in preseason, because we both agree we don't want to see him in the regular season, providing he plays well in preseason next year and Jordan Love is certainly the guy, you might be able to trade Clifford right off the bat next year. And maybe get a 2nd-round pick for him or a 1st-round pick for him.
I will not entertain this. You're not getting a 1st-round pick for Sean Clifford.
If he plays well, he's got everybody talking right now. I'm just telling you, if he plays well the rest of preseason and he plays well again next preseason, there might be an opportunity to get a pretty good draft pick for Clifford after next preseason. Just saying. 2nd-round pick, whatever. I mean, this may turn out to be okay for the Packers. I know you don't like Clifford, and I'm not a fan of Clifford necessarily either in big games, but it might be something. All right, so this 2-minute drill.
You got
As Andy Herman puts it, follow him on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Tie game 0-0, 1 timeout, about 1:30 left, ball around the 25-ish, according to Andy Herman. First play, Love to Dobbs on a slant for 20. Okay, incomplete to Dobbs, clock stops. Watson crosser complete, clock ticks. Toure complete, clock ticks. Throwaway off pressure, but penalty on defense, maybe offsides. Love to Dobbs on a slant. Again, big pickup timeout. 1st and 10, 11 seconds left, ball in 25. Love to Dobbs, quick out complete for 5-ish, out of bounds, 7 seconds left. Purposeful throw away to burn time. Field goal on for the potential win. Here comes Carlson, who was 5 for 5 in their little field goal drill. Here you go, dude. Go win the practice. Go hit the kick. 40 yards, misses.
Yeah.
Carlson blows the chance. And I believe he missed it wide right, like he had been missing it to this point. That, to me, is going to be an issue. I'm telling you right now. And I saw, who was it? Somebody on Twitter. I don't remember which Packer person it was. One of these Packer people. were saying that with Carlson, they said, well, that doesn't mean anything for Jordan Love. Well, okay, fine. You're right. It doesn't. If Carlson misses a field goal, people aren't going to look at Jordan Love and go, boy, he sucks. No, but you're going to cost them wins. See, that's the thing. This is about winning football games. And you have no competition for this dude. None. So if he goes into the regular season and misses, I don't know, 3 of the first 6 or misses a couple extra points, then you're going to go get the veteran kicker in the middle of the season? Or are we going to watch this dude miss kicks all year long and cost us games? I know.
I don't want him here. Here's the thing.
I don't want him either.
Like, no country for old men, Brian Gutekunst. I'm still haunted by the tweet that Mason Crosby's wife, Molly, had. Like, Mason Crosby, you know what? I know he doesn't have the strongest leg, even though he did just kick his career high at Lambeau Field just last year. He doesn't have the strongest leg, but I trust him in the clutch, to make the makeable kicks. Like, let's be honest, man. And so here's the thing. If this team, what's the goal this year? All you're doing is replacing a Hall of Fame quarterback who everybody says is washed up with your first-round pick that you moved up for. You're doing the same thing that the Chiefs did. Now, Alex Smith isn't a Hall of Famer, but you're almost doing the same thing, right? And then Mahomes was in the AFC title game and in the Super Bowl, back-to-back years, right away. You're doing that same thing. You have, 8 or 9 first-round picks on the defensive side of the ball that you, Brian Gutekunst, drafted. Yep. You have your quarterback of the future. You have all your wide receivers. You have your offensive lineman, Elton Jenkins, out there, right? So shouldn't the goal be to win a weak NFC North? And if the goal is to win a weak NFC North, why wouldn't you want a veteran kicker like Mason Crosby, who right now is the best available? Why are you rolling out this kid that's pissing down his leg in practice making a 40-yarder?
Unless
I can
we're
tell you
missing
how this
something.
story ends. Cody Parkey could tell you how this story ends.
Unless
Mason Crosby back up.
Unless we're missing something. Unless Crosby said, I don't want to play for you. I don't want to be part of a rebuild. I'm going to wait for a contender to need a kicker, and then I'm going to go there. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe Crosby just said, I don't want to come kick for a rebuild team. I'd rather just stay home, and I'll wait for somebody that has a kicker that's a contender to call me, and I'll go kick for them down the stretch. Who knows? I don't know the true answer to all of this, but to me, it seems rather obvious. Now, Tom Silverstein from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel said, on that 40-yard field goal, he was kicking into the wind. And then he said a little while later, for what it's worth, Nick Folk, kicking for the Patriots now, a veteran kicker, field goal in the same direction, died and dropped in front of the crossbar, kicking into the wind in the same direction. So not saying he's making an excuse for Carlson, but he's pretty much saying Folk missed a kick similarly, but it dropped at the crossbar. Didn't miss it wide right, but he missed it short. So either way, I'm running out of patience with Carlson.
Like when my kid comes home, Sparky, and he's like, well, Michael put his nose on the wall too. And I'm like, well, I don't care about him. I don't care about Nick Foles.
Right.
I care about Carlson, who continues to be a young disaster at practice. Like, no. They screwed over Mason Crosby. Goot wanted all the old guys gone.
This is Bisaccia's guy, though, remember. Bisaccia coached his brother in Vegas. Bisaccia was the one stomping on the table. Hey, I need him. I've known him since, he was younger. I want my guy. And I'm telling you, that is the only reason they don't have another damn kicker in camp, because Bisaccia doesn't want him to get beat in camp by somebody else and then have to go tell his family that, sorry, we're cutting your kid. That's the only reason Anders Carlson is the only position in camp without any competition.
My prediction is he misses 2 game-winning kicks. He's cut by week 8.
No chance they're cutting him. Bisaccia is not cutting him. No way. This is like a family member to him, it sounds like. There's no chance. He's not getting cut.
I'm going to cut the cord then and watch every other team but the Packers if they continue to trot him out there if he's missing game winners.
I hear you. All right. Other news. Let's go to topic number 2. You referred to it earlier from Matt LaFleur. Somebody brought up to him about what about moving Rasul Douglas to safety if Carrington Valentine continues to play as well as he has been playing. And the question to you, Ryan Horvat, is, do you like this suggestion? LaFleur said he's not ruling anything out. And if Valentine continues to play this way, they got to figure out a way to get him on the field, that they'll look at all options. So he didn't say no. He didn't say yes. He just said they'll look at all options. What say you, Mr. Horvat?
Yeah, you got to get your best players on the field, right? So like if we get a bigger sample size, and we still luckily got 2 more preseason games, right? We don't need to see more Jordan Love, but we need to see more Valentine out there. And if he continues to look good, if he continues to make plays, man, you have to get him on the field and just not on special teams. So we'll see what Eric Stokes looks like because we don't know what he looks like coming off an injury. Valentine might be your other corner with Jair. I do like this idea because obviously you have to have Rasul Douglas on the field, even if he is dropping picks. And if you want to get Valentine, you got to get your best players out there. That's the thing, because they can't continue to trot Darnell Savage out there if he continues to be a liability. You know what I'm saying? We don't really know what the safety position is going to look like this season because Adrian Amos has been so good the last couple of years. I know he wasn't himself last year, but he's been reliable since they signed him. That was one of Goot's great signings. Yeah, I like that idea. I want to see what it looks like. Maybe tinker with it a little bit in preseason here because there is two more games. But
I want to say
you got to get your best players on the field. That's what I would do personally. Like if I'm playing Madden.
Right, exactly. I think they had somebody tweeted. I don't remember who it was. Somebody said that they had Rasul Douglas at safety for one day last year in training camp and then scrapped it and went back to him at corner. So I don't remember the scenario of why he was there for that day or why they went away from him for that day or what the case is. But as far as a playmaker goes in the secondary, he is a playmaker. Like he finds his way to the ball, Ryan, where he's going to put himself in a position to make plays. Now, he may drop interceptions like he did today against Mac Jones, but he was in the position to make the play twice that I saw on Twitter to make a play. I'm all for it. But if we're going to do this, or if they're going to do this, you better start soon. I don't want to hear about, in week 2, we're going to move him to safety. No. If you're going to consider moving him to safety, then move him to safety and let him go play safety, all next week, play safety against the Seahawks, have 2 more weeks to practice playing safety in practice and make that decision. Let's not wait for cut down day and then go, we're going to move him to safety now. Just make up your mind.
Yeah. You want to have your most talented players on the field, right? And, you look at Jair, obviously you can't move to safety. You wouldn't want to do that. He's one of the best corners in the league. Eric Stokes isn't a safety, but you look at, Douglas is more of a ball hawk, right? Like a ball hawk, like makes plays on the ball. So I would actually rather see him as the experiment. Like you said, they did it one day last year at practice, never went back to it. But you got to get your best players on the field. And what I worry about with Darnell Savage, I know he's made a couple plays in practice on Jordan Love, but once you get to year 3, year 4, man, aren't you kind of are what you are? You don't really see guys, especially on that side of the ball, like something just doesn't click and they have a breakout year on that side of the ball. I think Savage kind of is what he is, unfortunately. And what he is a liability out there. I'd rather have Douglas at safety, yes.
Yep. All right, let's go to topic number 3 to wrap it up. Hard Knocks episode 2 was last night. I don't know if you got to see it or not. They had this mental, whatever it was, prediction of what you're going to say. Oh, you're wearing an Aaron Rodgers t-shirt. For those of you watching on the Odyssey Sports YouTube channel, don't forget you can download the podcast on your Odyssey Sports app or wherever you download your favorite podcast at as well. Subscribe, follow, do all that fun stuff too. Okay, so they had this dude comes in predicting what card is where and doing all this stuff. And Rodgers is holding a baby goldfish in his hand. And he thought he had a deck of cards and yada, yada, yada. That was all entertaining and that was fun. To me, watching that, Saleh, he's a little bit different than Matt LaFleur. He's a little bit different than Mike McCarthy. He is old school in the aspect of he wants physicalness. He wants violence, that type of stuff. That's what he wants. And he better see it from both sides of the ball. And that offensive line, holy crap, did he tear into them. And as somebody pointed it out this morning, they're surprised that the Jets allowed them to show him killing the offensive line for everybody to see. A lot of people thought they would never allow that to happen. They don't want everybody to see how pissed off and how scared he is of his offensive line. But that offensive line not only looked bad in that preseason game or in that joint practice last week, Ryan, in the joint practice today against the Buccaneers, there were fights all over the field. The DB's coach for the Jets got carted off. He got knocked down and hurt his knee or something, so he's out. The offensive line was trash all day. Rodgers was running for his life and was horrible by all accounts in practice today. They got a problem on that offensive line, and Aaron Rodgers is in no position to have to be running for his life all year at his age. No position.
He's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly, which it's funny because, like, yeah, I watched the episode, but I'm also reading the reports from practice that just wrapped up today as we're taping. And again, it was a rough showing for the offense for Aaron Rodgers, who's just had no time at practice. It was sack after sack after sack.
Yep.
All the plays that he did make today, it looked like he just got rid of the ball quickly. Quick slant to
3, 4, 5 yards.
Yep. Yeah. So you got to be concerned with the offensive line, man. I mean, man, if the Jets are going all in, maybe they should make a call for David Bakhtiari. But
can't do it. Packers can't do it. I mean, I talked about this earlier. I mean, you're talking about taking on, what is it, like $38-39 million in dead cap money if you make that trade, and he's making 21 as the cap number this year. So another $18 million? No chance. Yeah. Now, next year they can definitely get rid of him and be done with him for sure. Then the Jets can have him after this season. But there's just no chance you can move David Bakhtiari at this point, as much as I'm sure Rodgers would give anything in his power to get that done. That's a problem. Were you surprised by how Saleh is when things aren't going well?
No, because I went back last night and I got the quote because the Jets beat Green Bay last year, obviously 27-10. And I'll never forget the press conference because LaFleur looked like he was going to cry because I believe they got outrushed like 181 yards because Breece Hall had 117 or something like that by himself to 60. LaFleur in tears like usual, didn't get the ball to Aaron Jones. And Robert Saleh after the game had this quote where he said, just keep giving them body blow after body blow after body blow and just keep hitting them. Just keep hitting them in the mouth. O-line, just keep pushing and leaning on them. And we felt like if we could just keep taking them down the deep water, they'll find out they can't swim. It was just a mindset. That man, that's
like Dan Campbell.
I wish, dude, because LaFleur and him are such good friends. That was our defensive coordinator. If Robert Saleh was the Packers defensive coordinator last year, the year before that, although you can't really blame the defense for either playoff loss, the San Francisco one especially, or last year. But man, I mean, like, they need that kind of toughness. But yeah, he's a little bit of a psychopath, total meathead. And it's funny because then you have Nathaniel Hackett, who it's just like, he's only, let's be honest, Hackett has a job because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
He seems like a very good guy, good dude, right? But like, he has no business being in this league. Thank God he's got a bunch of buddies, LaFleur and Rodgers, and he's on that LaFleur coaching tree because he's not a play caller. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm worried. The Jets defense is going to be top 5. But if that offensive line can't protect Aaron Rodgers, if Breece Hall, it's going to take him some time to look like Breece Hall again. I know you picked up Dalvin Cook, but they're going to have to get that thing figured out. Your running game is only as good as your offensive line in the National Football League, dude.
Can you explain something to me? And again, I hope the Jets lose every damn game. I ain't rooting for him. You're rooting for your guy Rodgers.
Yeah.
But from just hear me out. You're the general manager of the Jets. Rodgers takes the pay cut that he takes. You need offensive linemen. One of the better offensive linemen in Dalton Reiser is still sitting out there. And you said, nah, I'm going to go get an old running back to pair up with my young, exciting running back. That's where I'm going to spend $8 million versus going and seeing how much that dude costs to help bring in a really good guard who's got a nasty streak to him, like Saleh wants, that can run, block, and do all that stuff. Why would you be spending money on an aging running back versus going out and getting you a proven offensive lineman? I don't understand. I don't get it.
That's the $1 million question. Like, that's what you worry about a little bit with the Jets, man, is like, is this a 12, 13 win team? I mean, if you're a Jets fan, this is what you worry about. Or is this that Philadelphia Eagles team where Vince Young was the backup to Michael Vick and he called them the dream team and they went 8-8 because they're making Madden-like decisions. Like you said, man, the NFL, you have to have an offensive line. It's plug and play with these running backs. It really is. I hate to say it, but that's why they're not getting paid. You know who is still getting paid? Left tackles. So I'm shocked. That's a good point, though, that they didn't go out there and get an offensive lineman, especially one that's solid.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then on top of it, excuse me, that dude can't stay healthy in Dalvin Cook. Now, you're not going to play him as much, but he's got to play and try and stay in the field. And then Breece Hall is coming off of a major injury. On top of it, like the early going here for the Jets with both of these guys is going to be very, very interesting. And as pointed out, and if you go through and read some of these tweets from Jets practice, what was Rodgers doing? looking for Garrett Wilson. Spent a majority of the practice trying to find Garrett Wilson. If this becomes Devontae Adams Part 2, where he's just going to pad that ball and wait for Garrett Wilson 30 yards downfield to make a play, he's going to get killed behind that offensive line because he's not going to get it out early, and he's going to get killed far more than he should. And that offensive line should call David Bakhtiari or Elton Jenkins and ask him, so what's it like blocking for 6 or 7 seconds? Because that may be what they have to do so Rodgers can make his play. I don't think this offensive line in New York can block for 6 or 7 seconds. They can barely block for 3, it seems like.
Maybe Zach Wilson isn't the disaster. No, he is. I mean, but like, it's hard for any quarterback to succeed behind bad offensive line play. You know what I mean? But
yes.
Good point. I mean, and that's why I bet Garrett Wilson to have the most receptions in the league, because when Rodgers finds this guy, he falls in love with this guy, but he's not going to be able to sit in the pocket, hold on to the ball like he did in Green Bay, because that's the thing. Like, yeah, you got a better defense, but I don't know that he understands that. He has to understand how good the offensive line play has been the last couple of years.
And
there is no Elton Jenkins or David Bakhtiari. There are no all pros on that offensive line.
And they're rotating centers right now. They got Tippmann rotating in with this other dude. And then Rodgers on Hard Knocks is like, I don't want a spiral coming back to me when you snap the ball. I want it to be like a lame duck just floating in the air back to me. That's what I want. And he was harping about how the ball has to be. Throw me a clunker on it, but don't make it a spiral, whatever you do. What? Oh, okay, sure. So he doesn't even know who his center is going to be in week 1 right now because they keep rotating guys. They're rotating guys across the line. And one last thing before we wrap up. The way he talked to Jace Campman, like, ridiculous. It was hilarious. It was absolutely ridiculous. You want to talk about no respect.
That's how guys talk.
Dude, that is ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like, I was like, dude, come on, man. That's a former NFL player. He's an NFL coach. You come running your mouth like, I don't know, he's some dude that you're his superior to or something. Like I feel like
that's how he talks to Aaron too, probably.
It feels like he talks down sometimes. And he may not be meaning to talk down, but it seems like he's talking down sometimes to guys. Like all these coaches, like hacking these guys. I don't know, man. That's what it seems like, outside in. Now, these guys may be boys, and that's how they talk to each other, and we're just seeing it on camera, so that's how we take it, and they're fine with it, but outside looking in, that was, I don't know. That was
knew the weight that he wanted to reach. They're definitely boys. They're probably talking like twice a week about their weight goals and whatnot, and that's probably the same way that he talks to Rodgers. He probably calls him a little B and whatnot as well. That's football guy talk. You guys in this Rodgers stuff. Man,
hey, all I know is he better be talking to Campman 2 days a week, 3 days a week to figure out how to fix his offensive line. Watch, Campman will be the offensive line coach next year. That wouldn't surprise me either. Yes, it would not surprise me at all. Here's Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight. Make sure to check him out. Part of the BetQL Radio Network, his college football shows on Saturday mornings, coming to a station near you as well. We'll have it on 1250 AM The Fan on Saturday mornings. Once that gets announced, I'll have more details for you on that. We'll be back on Friday. On Friday, we'll record and we'll talk about Thursday's podcast. And, of course, Confident, Concerned, and Curious leading up to the exhibition game on Saturday as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one, everybody. Toodles.